Euromaxx, the highlights show. Coming up, Botanical Birthday. The Kew Gardens in London celebrate their 250th anniversary. Ambiguous Art. An exhibition in Paris features works with hidden images. Better barbecuing. A German expert shares his tips. Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Robin Merrill.
And a very warm welcome from Berlin. This country has a great tradition in the field of classical music, and indeed of colleges or academies where you can study music. But the Kronberg Academy is one step up from your usual music college. This is where the crème de la crème go, those who are looking to be future soloists on the world's concert stages. Recently, talented young violinists from all over the world gathered there for some very special masterclasses.
The town of Kronberg lies just 30 kilometers from Frankfurt. 180 of the world's best young violinists are now in Kronberg. Some of them have certainly come in hopes of being discovered by the celebrated musicians teaching here.
Okay, very good. Don't break that slur.
Among the tutors is Christian Tetzlaff from Germany, one of the world's best violinists. The masterclasses are dedicated to the memory of the great violinist Yehudi Menuhin, who died 10 years ago.
What I like is that there's excellent all-round support, and that the students play concerts in that context.
And sometimes a pure legato is really a wonderful thing.
He's a very warm person, so he always talks with students before they play, and he makes you feel comfortable.
Masterclasses by Anna Chumachenko, a violin professor based in Munich, are also in high demand. Chumachenko herself was once taught by Menuhin. Not all the participants will get the chance to play at the masterclasses. There was a pre-selection on the first day.
Of the 180 who applied here, all have to audition. Only a few of them, however, about 50, will be chosen to take active part in the masterclasses. The others will stay and listen and have the opportunity, without the pressure of an audition situation, to become acquainted with the differing schools of violin playing and the various teachers.
Ganz verschiedene Geigenschulen und Lehrer in Ruhe kennenzulernen.
The one-week international violin masterclass is new. Until now, they were only given for cello and viola players. In addition to masterclasses, a select few study at the Kronberg Academy.
People here are passionate, almost greedy for culture. In the way, you can see this in the way that they support all the events that Kronberg Academy promotes, such as the violin masterclasses that we're holding at the moment, the cello festival. And of course now they're lending support to Kronberg Academy Masters, which is a unique course or program devised for an elite group of wonderful young musicians who are all destined to perform on the world stage.
This 21-year-old musician from Norway is one of the few who study in Kronberg.
It's like sort of utopia, you know, this way, the sort of the perfect place. It's quite genuine, and I think everybody here, and including myself, feel very, very privileged.
Concert performances are an integral part of the master classes. The The violin masterclasses are the latest addition to the excellent training that the Kronberg Academy offers for gifted young musicians.
Wow, that last violinist sounded amazing. Wilde Frang, a name to remember, perhaps. The British Queen paid a visit to Kew Gardens recently as part of the celebrations surrounding its 250th anniversary. Also known as the Royal Botanic Gardens, it contains the world's largest collection of naturally growing plants. In the glorious glass houses, under carefully regulated conditions, there are plants that sometimes look like they came from another planet. We had a privileged look around with the curator, Nigel Taylor.
Kew in the southwest of London is one of the world's largest man-made gardens. It covers some 130 hectares of land and is home to a myriad of trees, plants and flowers growing among sculptures and old palace walls. The lord of the manor here is Nigel Taylor, curator of the Royal Botanic Gardens.
Certainly we have the most knowledge of plants accumulated in any one place on the planet. In fact, the postcode of Kew Gardens, TW9, is reckoned to be the most biodiverse area of its kind on the planet.
Kew also boasts the world's second largest herbarium, or collection of preserved specimens. The dried and pressed plants are used for research purposes and are out of bounds to the public. Almost 60% of the world's plant species are stored here. Every year, another 50,000 new samples arrive.
Kew, we have 7 million of these specimens. It's one of the largest collections in the world. We don't know exactly how many specimens we have, but we think it's about 7 million.
Among the delicate treasures accommodated in the herbarium is an item found by the scientist and evolutionist Charles Darwin in South America in the 19th century.
Okay, so this is in fact our oldest specimen in the herbarium, and this is about 3,300 years old, and this is fragments of olive leaves collected from Tutankhamun's tomb. The leaves that we've just seen are in fact from this wreath that was found in the tomb. So these are olive leaves around the side of this wreath.
Curator Nigel Taylor is particularly proud of the more exotic plants on display in Kew Gardens. The Café Marron, of which only one known example survives in nature, on the Indian Ocean island of Mauritius. A Titan arum takes several years to produce one of its 2-metre-wide blossoms, which is then only open for 2 or 3 days. Among the 6 greenhouses here, the most popular is probably the Palm House, opened in 1848. It's one of the oldest greenhouses in the world.
The Palm House is a remarkable glass house. It has a very curved shape, and if you look at it closely and imagine it the other way up, you can see it is like the hull of a ship. And it was designed by an engineer who built ships out of iron, and he extended that technological knowledge to a structure which could be glazed and turned into a great glass house.
The gardens were created by Princess Augusta, mother of King George III, in 1759. They initially served as a private retreat next to Kew Palace, until the entire estate was turned into a public garden in the middle of the 19th century. The glass houses were a source of particular fascination, giving Londoners their first taste of the tropics.
Royal collectors were sent out to countries all around the world to obtain new and rare and interesting plants. In fact, as a World Heritage Site, Kew is recognised as having changed world agricultural economies through the movement of plants from one country to another during the zenith of the British Empire.
Anniversary festivities at the Royal Botanic Gardens extend throughout the year, offering ample opportunity to join the celebrations, not just of a glorious past, but also of a flourishing future.
I can really recommend a visit to Kew. And this looks like a worthwhile trip too, an art exhibition with a difference. In the Grand Palais in Paris, you could be forgiven for seeing double, or something like that. There's an exhibition there until July that features art that is full of optical tricks, like the picture behind me, which is a face, or is it just fruit?
One image may hide another. That's the title of a new exhibition at the Grand Palais in Paris. It features 250 works of art from 5 continents, from Arcimboldo to Dali. What the works of these artists from different periods and cultures have in common are hidden images, such as a landscape that's also a portrait, a rabbit that's also a duck. The show's curator is Jean-Aubert Martin. He and his assistants spent 2 years putting together the various works, including pictures, photographs, sculptures, and films.
To some extent, the artist is playing a game with the viewer. An awareness of viewer response is an integral part of the creative process. The artist lays out the rules of the game, and then it remains to be seen if these are understood or not.
Sometimes they're just having a bit of fun, but at times in the past, artists may have had good reason to be ambiguous.
This was a trick artists liked to use at times when censorship was an issue, or for political reasons. During the French Restoration, images of Napoleon Bonaparte were forbidden, but his supporters recognized one another because his profile was carved into their walking sticks.
16th century Italian artist Giuseppe Arcimboldo was a master of the multiple image, creating imaginative portraits made entirely of objects like fruit, vegetables, flowers, fish, and books. Others who experimented with multiple imagery include René Magritte, Paul Gauguin, Pablo Picasso, and Salvador Dali. Surrealism is well represented at the exhibition at the Grand Palais.
Dali's double images are characterized by extraordinary technique and exceptional skill.
The work of Swiss sculptor Markus Retz shows how contemporary artists have picked up on the technique of the hidden image. Another example is French painter Vincent Coppée. His oil portrait measures 2.70 meters by 3 meters and is exhibited on the ceiling, forcing viewers to alter their perspectives.
This piece is not so much a representation as a presentation with multiple forms. There's no up and down, left or right, and it actually lacks meaning. It defies understanding. It's very hard to grasp what it actually depicts, even for me.
The Paris-based artist likes the idea of a monothematic exhibition that brings together different art disciplines.
This is fascinating. There's a mirror in the middle, and the action is restricted to one side only. As soon as the symmetry emerges, we start to make out forms. It's an automatic reflex. This is also incredible. It's a shape that gradually becomes another shape. A principle that artists use all the time, in fact.
Unusual art that elicits some unusual responses.
What's interesting is that the people who come to the exhibition really talk to one another. Sometimes they can't find the hidden image, so they ask the person standing next to them. It creates a very pleasant and convivial atmosphere.
Visitors enjoy the challenge of unraveling the mysteries of the art in this exhibition. Some works are more mysterious than others.
In the same year that Kew Gardens opened in London, one of Germany's greatest playwrights and poets was born, Friedrich von Schiller. So there are plenty of celebrations here concerning this 250th anniversary. And in Marbach, where he was born, all the locals got together to recreate the time when the young Schiller was in short pants.
People from across Germany have come to Marbach to join the celebrations in the hometown of poet, playwright, and philosopher Friedrich Schiller. It's also a great opportunity to delve back into the town's history.
Schiller lived in several German towns, but nowhere else is the Schiller heritage as great as in Marbach. The 250th anniversary of his birth was the chance to put on a special celebration.
The whole town became a stage for 2 days. There were demonstrations of traditional handicrafts as well as historic markets. Both professional actors and amateurs reproduced everyday 18th century scenes. And the fashions of yesteryear were also brought back to life. The men wore tricorns, the women clothes made of silk. Some were in fact homemade.
Das Kleid besteht aus einer Juche.
There's a skirt,
a
mantle, a stomacher, and underneath the lady would wear a corset, a chemise, a hoop skirt, and naturally stockings and shoes.
Schiller was born in the picturesque setting of Marbach in 1759. It has grown substantially since then, but the half-timbered houses and quaint little streets in the old town have changed little. And this is the house where he was born. His family lived here in rather modest conditions until he was 4. There was also a chance to take a culinary trip back in time and rediscover the food, like roast pork and crackling, that was popular in the Rococo era. The offerings also included good old-fashioned mead. Schiller's mother was known to have baked a special treat made of quinces, much to the delight of her son. The highlight of events was the river parade involving some 15 rafts, an opportunity to pay tribute to both Schiller and the era that defined him.
Now we come to something that is becoming more and more popular here in Germany, the barbecue. At the first sight of good weather, men start dusting off their barbecues and preparing for the grill season. And I don't exclude women from this, but for some strange reason, it does tend to be men who congregate around the barbecue. Of course, here in Germany, they make the best sausages, but there's lots more to grill, and some tips now from an expert.
For the past 2 years, barbecue professionals from all over Europe have matched their skills in the Grill and Barbecue Championship at an artificial beach bar by the Spree River in Berlin's government district. The items placed on the grill are ones you'd normally expect from haute cuisine. Sven Dörger usually prefers to be behind the barbecue himself. Several times a German barbecue champion, he's now passing on his skills and experiences in his new book, Grillen.
My general philosophy on life probably goes for my recipes, too. I prefer it simple. Profound, but simple.
Several days earlier, we visited Sven Dörger in his garden on the outskirts of Berlin. He hopes to clear up popular grilling misconceptions with his first book on barbecue hints. Misconception number 1, methylated spirits are good for lighting barbecues. Even a small amount of that can be dangerous.
Spirits burn explosively, and with a gust of wind, you can catch fire sooner than you think. These, however, are slow to burn and die out moderately. You just have to make sure that everything burns off because of the chemicals.
So it's better to use fire lighters that are also characterized as such. Misconception number 2, douse with beer when the barbecue starts to smolder and burn.
The main reason people say is to douse the flames. Okay. But the other argument is that it adds flavor, which is absurd. Meat might have 2 seconds of contact, once underneath and once on top as steam. Then the meat can't absorb any more flavor. The pores are closed. All that happens is the meat gets dirty from the ashes when they fly up.
Another common mistake is to turn the meat over with a fork. Poking holes in the meat makes it lose its vital juices. The result, the meat becomes tough and fat drips directly onto the barbecue.
To avoid that, I use a kettle barbecue. First, it has a hood for top heat. Secondly, there's a water tank underneath. All the fat and gravy drips in there and is neutralized. It doesn't smolder or burn. I use tongs to turn the meat.
In his books, Sven Dörger reveals some of his personal recipes, for example, minced meat kebabs coated with coconut.
Being creative at the barbecue doesn't take too much effort. You don't have to do anything exotic or fancy. Mushrooms are really easy. Remove the stem, hollow it out a little bit, and then it's like a little bowl that you can fill with whatever you want. You can try minced meat, or maybe even fish or vegetables. And finally, a little pizza cheese or some feta on top.
Even dessert can be made on an open flame. Simply place a whole banana on the grill and wait till it's black on the outside and soft on the inside. These recipes may not win you a trophy at the barbecue championship, but your guests will still be impressed. And whether they win or not, just being there is what it's all about for the 20 teams participating in the Grill and Barbecue Championship in Berlin.
Barbecuing is about being outside, being happy, talking to each other, eating. Those are really very, very important things in life.
It's really fun.
It's the people, it's the calm, everyone is having a good time. It's uniting people, and for me this is the best thing about barbecue.
And whether it's sausage or asparagus, in the end, what counts is how it tastes.
Just a reminder, you can see any of those reports again or others from Euromaxx on YouTube under Deutsche Welle English. That's it for now, though. Until next time, bye-bye.